Welcome to the Fantasy Throwdown Podcast, bringing you the latest updates from the world of sports, gambling, and pop culture. Because you can't have a show without hot takes or a Tiger King meme these days. Know what I'm saying? Now, with over 200 episodes and ready to get after it again, here's your host, Dwayne Callender.
Good morning, people. It is early Monday morning, but I'm putting this out because there's way too much confusion going on as to how the end of that Chargers-Raiders game went down. For those who don't know, the Raiders won 35-32 in overtime in a game where if the game ended in a tie, both the Raiders and Chargers would have advanced into the playoffs, and the Steelers would instead have been eliminated. So, a couple of caveats here. It was 35 seconds left in the game. The Raiders were about to run a run play. It was a run play. This is the first misconception people have. Before the Chargers called timeout, the Raiders were set up in 11 personnel. People are assuming that the Chargers called the timeout because they didn't have the personnel lined up correctly for pass play and didn't want to get burned. So, a couple of caveats here. A, throwing the ball there makes no sense. It makes no sense to throw the ball there because it kills the clock if you don't get the first down. Yeah, could you try to kick a field goal? Sure. But if you miss, it still allows the Chargers a chance to go run a play, call a timeout, and kick a field goal of their own. So a pass play made no sense there. Second of all, if you look closely, the left tackle's in a three-point stance. You go into the three-point stance to help facilitate a run play. It does not help you in a pass play. But, just a couple of things because I've seen enough people get that wrong that I felt the need to kind of call that out. So, it was a 3rd down and 4. The play design call was a shotgun draw play where you're just going to hand the ball off to Jacobs. It's 3rd down and 4. He's 3 yards behind. It's going to take him at least 3 yards to get a full head of steam to hit that hole properly. So 3rd down and 4. Highly unlikely the shotgun draw is going to get a first down. More than likely, it's a 2 to 3 yard play on that actual play. Brandon Staley is looking at this and saying, okay, I have a chance, because regardless of what people are thinking, the Raiders were kicking that field goal anyway. That's why it was going to be a run play. The Raiders were going to try a field goal. Now, the question is, if you stop the Raiders right then and there, or get a tackle for a loss, the situation is it's a 57-yard field goal or longer. Brandon Staley opts to take the timeout and goes to swap out his defensive package. So the main key difference in the defensive package he swapped out, he had 2 linebackers, and he swapped out one of them to bring in a safety. Realistically, this is suboptimal. You usually would rather have a linebacker in there instead of a safety. But in some of the newer coaching philosophies, a safety gives you more versatility because of their speed and how they can knife in to the backfield to blow up a play as opposed to having a linebacker. So Staley went with that play. The Raiders actually go with a heavier run package. So they bring in 2 tight ends instead of just having the one out there that they originally had to put a hat on head. What happens on the play is you see the safety on the Chargers. Believe me, I'm not going back to look up his name at this point. He gets caught up in the wash because he is there's supposed to be a foul because the tight end goes in motion to set up where they're going to run the ball. They're running it to the left side, behind the tight end, behind the left tackle, who's already in the 3-point stance we talked about before. So instead of the shotgun draw, the Raiders go a heavy run package off off to the left side. The safety tries to cut in. He gets caught up in the wash. It leaves a gaping hole in the line, which leads to a 10-yard run for the Raiders. Mind you, I talked about this being a shotgun draw where likely they were only going to get a 2 to 3 yards. It's unlikely to get a first down because of the timeout and the defensive switch, allowing the Raiders more time to come up with a heavier run package. It gives the Raiders a better run play than they would have dialed up originally. So yes, the timeout did cost the Chargers in a sense because it cost them a couple extra yards. Now, could Daniel Carson boot that field goal anyway from 50 plus yards as opposed to the 47-yard kick he had? Yeah, probably. It's a dome. But, I'm not going to suggest that kickers are, one way or the other, they're more likely to make a kick than not. But it's a much harder kick once you get past 50 yards. And prior to this year, I think Carlson's long for his career was only 52 yards. I think he hit like a 55-yarder at some point this year on a primetime game. I can't remember which game it was, but I'm pretty sure he had like a 55 or a 56-yard field goal. But regardless, Staley, I still don't agree with the defensive substitution that he made because it's assuming that one of the worst run defenses in the league, and they got worse this year than last year, even though they had more healthy bodies. I don't think Staley's personnel packages helped them at all this year. They were 32nd ranked in the league, so they were dead last. The fact that you actually thought you were going to get a stuff or tackle for a loss, to me, is laughable. I think you just kind of accept the fate, let them run a get by play, and just bang for the field goal. He tried to go sell out for a play that wasn't there, and again, it gave the Raiders time to run a better run play. So, people saying the timeout caused the Raiders to be more technically, yes, it did. It did because the Raiders had a worse run play called originally than what they came up with because of the Chargers timeout. But I still think the Raiders were kicking that field goal anyway. Now, what people are also harping about, because why this is being talked about in general, is that people had gone out of their way to bet on this game. And because of same game parlays, and I talked about this for New York being involved, you could have put together, I didn't go down this route just because, Goodell, I said it on the podcast, said it earlier last night. Goodell talked to, I guarantee you Goodell talked to both of these teams and said, you're not going to finagle, because we see it in soccer all the time where both teams know they can get by with a draw and they just kind of play it out. Goodell was not going to make it that obvious on an NFL game. I guarantee you he called both of these teams in advance to make sure it didn't happen. But the sports books had a 7-figure liability, like PointsBet, like outright said they had a 7-figure liability in the event this game ended in a tie. And I'm sure when Bovada, DraftKings, FanDuel, like when they all start talking about, and so these books had millions on the line if this game ended in a tie that they were going to have to pay out, because some folks were able to put together a same game parlay where you had Raiders plus 4.5, Chargers plus 4.5, yes on overtime, and even on points scored. Technically, you could have put together that parlay, even as opposed to just betting on the tie itself. Again, I didn't go down this route because I didn't think both of these teams would find a way to shoot themselves in the foot as many times, because they weren't trying to rig that game. I promise you that. The people who were going crazy on Twitter about oh, it was a rigged game. I knew it was going to be rigged. It was not a rigged game. This was just like bad decision making throughout that led to a situation where we could have ended in the tie if he missed that field goal, if he kicked it from 50 plus, as opposed to the 47 yard kick he got. Still not an easy kick, but it was a hell of a lot better shot than what he likely would have had if they allowed that shotgun draw play to actually run its course. But yeah, it's kind of crazy where you had millions on the line because you had folks who just standard bet on the tie. Then you had folks earlier in the day bet on parlaying the Jags because you needed the Jaguars to win. So some people parlayed the Jags winning as a dog, the Steelers money line, along with the Chargers and Raiders ending in a tie. That was a more profitable way of betting it because you had to play for all those scenarios because you shouldn't be betting on the tie unless those other factors happen first. So if you were planning on it, that is a logical way to go. Like I said, I kind of talked about it before. Goodell was going to talk to both of these teams to make sure they did figure out a way of forcing a tie. It just so worked out that how ridiculously crazy this game got that a tie was even in the possibility. But again, as I said, this game ended in large part because of Brandon Staley being unable to help himself, thinking that he had a magic play to set up a stuff or a tackle for a loss, and it backfired on him because the Raiders had a better play. And execution-wise, technically, the Chargers play could have worked, but my personal opinion is when you have a safety instead of a linebacker is more likely to follow the tight end because they're thinking about stuffing the run. A safety, that's not their natural instincts to do because you see the tight end go into motion on that play and no one follows him. That puts you at a disadvantage regardless, and you saw it on the play. If you look back on the video, obviously I can't show you guys, but if you look back on the video, you see where the Chargers get caught up in the mass of bodies because they didn't follow the flow of the play. So it is what it is. I'm getting out of here, but I just need to try to explain to folks just what happened on that play because it was an utter disaster for the Chargers, and it knocked them out of the playoffs this year. But that is not the sole reason why the Chargers missed the playoffs. I said this multiple times throughout the year. I don't think Brandon Staley is ready to be an NFL head coach yet. And his decision-making and overthinking at times and being ultra-aggressive when he didn't need to be ultra-aggressive, it ultimately cost his team a chance to make the playoffs because, frankly, he was one of the healthiest teams in the league throughout. The amount of talent they had on both sides of the ball were top 5 easily. I think they were probably the most talented squad in the league on both sides of the ball. I know the defensive stats don't show it, but I think that a lot of it has to do with the coaching philosophy and the execution of players trying to follow that philosophy. Again, just a complete and utter disaster for the Chargers. Right up there with the Colts, too, but the Colts' issues stem more from the quarterback position in Carson Wentz. Chargers had excellent quarterback play from Justin Herbert throughout this season, which makes it almost in a way more egregious because if you have excellent play from the quarterback, it takes a lot in a pass-happy league now that's geared towards boosting passing teams, that if your quarterback is balling out, to miss the playoffs with that much talent on the entire team roster. But that's all for now, folks. I got to get out of here. Maybe we'll do something for the national championship game with Alabama and Georgia, but we'll see tonight if I get time to do it. But that's all for now, folks. Have a good one. And yeah, crazy end to the NFL regular season. We'll see how the playoffs shake out because I definitely have some thoughts on this opening wild card weekend that we have coming up. But until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Throwdown Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all other major outlets.